Live from the virtual Pocono Raceway. Welcome, race fans, one and all, back to Green Flag TV, where this afternoon we are gearing up for yet another bout of racing action as Monday Night Racing makes its regular return in 2026. My name is Will Ramble alongside Justin Prince. We're bringing you all the action from round number 9 of the High Tide Racing League in their 5th season of competition. Justin, we once again swing out to the tricky triangle, the Pocono Raceway, a track that is famous in so many ways. Each corner unique in of itself, each one modeled off of a different racetrack, but critically here this afternoon, running the older legacy scan from 2008, present a unique challenge to racers across the grid this afternoon.
Yes, this will be a challenge for a lot of the drivers today to make sure they don't have issues with the gears, but better yet, for a lot of these drivers, it's about, can you survive the potential chaos you'll see around, especially from Pocono Raceway? A lot of times when it comes to this racetrack here, Nolan, you'll see stack-ups early on. But if you survive and keep yourself out of the trouble early, you set yourself up for a good middle before the chaos ramps up again, usually by the end.
Taking a look at the championship standings, entering racing action this afternoon. No surprise, but Jaden Hopp remains on top of the point sports, 340 to his name. That is 39 clear of Nicholas Corcel in that number 2 spot. Scott Shire trailing as well, 5 points out of the 300-point bracket. And then, of course, a tight fight from there for 4th place and as well for 5th and 6th with Sean Williams and Dalton Kilroe going head-to-head. But as always, all eyes remain on that final spot, the 12th place position of the standings, right now held by John Osborne, but only by 4.
Yeah, especially keep in mind, Connor Gibson's been pretty decent. Dustin Payne's just had a cold streak the past couple weeks. Ty Marasco especially has gone ice cold. So there's a lot of drivers that we know will put up decent speed, at least this week. In the next couple weeks, that might get some points back. Puts a lot of pressure on Osborne to perform and make sure to keep putting up decent finishes.
Yes, sir. A huge run coming up here for a lot of drivers here this afternoon. Not just throughout today, but of course in the coming weeks as well. We advance closer and closer towards the chase season. It is, of course, a run tonight at Pocono. That is followed up by Dover, then Michigan, Richmond, Sonoma, New Hampshire, and, of course, Chicagoland will be one of the final runs here this afternoon. And so this run here for a lot of drivers is going to be absolutely critical for a lot of folks here this afternoon, as we are just a few weeks away from the chase season kicking off in earnest.
Yes, especially since, keep in mind, a lot of drivers have probably said, I like 1.5 miles. I can put together consistent speed there. Not really important this part of the season, because you're talking about a lot of different racetracks in terms of approach, a lot of short tracks in particular. Quite simply, if you want to be able to get yourself to the championship, you better be able to know how to adapt.
This race is going to be a long haul for several teams this afternoon, and it could very well prove to be a tricky track out there as well. Look at the wind, 18 miles an hour blowing up towards the north. That is quite a bit of crosswind for drivers to contend with around the Pocono Raceway, especially since that track temp hovering at 77 degrees Fahrenheit. So high winds on a cool track as it escalates into the 20s here. That's a risky track to be racing on in cars like these.
In terms of the handling, absolutely, because it can make things a little bit turbulent in the corners, but could also assist in some of the speed in some sections down the straightaways. Really depends on how the wind's blowing at that exact time and how these drivers are able to then adapt with that handling difference that they're going to feel once they get on the gas.
All of this takes us into the warm-up phase this afternoon. Of course, the 3 different turns that this track is modeled after. Turn 1, of course, being Trenton. Turn 2, Indianapolis. Turn 3, the Milwaukee Mile. 3 tracks with a lot of pedigree, 2 of which are still active to this very day. Pocono really is a challenge above the rest. It's 2.5 miles. It's the same length as Daytona, the National Speedway, but with none of the high speeds. And that means that in terms of oval racing, this track actually boasts the longest lap times of any oval on the schedule.
Yeah, you're talking upwards of more than 50 seconds, keep in mind, when it comes to Pocono Raceway. So you have a lot of time to be able to process things, but more so, just, it's so hard to pass here, in my opinion, because you have to be able to time it up just right on the dive to the inside, and you have to find a way to clear by apex. It sounds similar to a lot of better ovals, but for here, it's so easy for drivers to that outside, especially in turns 2 and 3, to pinch down and force you off the gas.
Tunnel turn going to be critical, I think, this afternoon, obviously known as turn 2. It's one of the few corners you really can't go side by side unless you're already a 2-by coming down the long pond straight out of turn number 1. And we'll see how drivers going to fare here this afternoon. But for the time being, it's time to take a rundown on what your official starting grid is going to look like as we get set to kick off racing action here once again for round number 9. Starting on pole position, it is Michael Thorpe Jr. for Golden Garden Autosport. He is still looking for good luck this season. He is alongside 75 Racing's Benjamin Lacey, trying to make a comeback right now. 1 win behind Jada Hopp's all-time record. Dalton Kilroe and Nick Dickerson start 3 and 4 on row number 2 on the grid here this afternoon, with the 3rd row holding Wesley Triplett and Scott Shire. Row 4 on the field, you got yourself Ty Marasco from MVRD Racing. He is alongside James Yerger. And then it is, of course, Ethan Sikorsky alongside the Canadian Larry Bell, bringing it up in the top 10.
11th spot today goes the way of Jaden Hobb. Then you throw Kevin Foster inside the top 12, taking a look at the Dale Jr. appearance today. Michael Keithley puts up a 13-point effort with Sean Williams down to the 14th position. Roll forward up to the next row. That's where you find 15th spot where John Osborne is. Jonathan Canfield goes with a Greg Biffle appearance this evening. He'll start in 16th position. 17th goes to Carter Phillips in the 5 Points Motorsports entry. Connor Gibson is 1.1 seconds off the pole, 18th position. Rounding your top 20 today, Nicholas Corcel. Jesse Gordon makes an appearance back in 20th.
Both drivers, the first 2 not to put down qualifying laps this afternoon. They're joined by MFRD contender Brian Dees and the 5 Points Motorsports contender of Eddie Hagge. And then tail end of the 24-car grid, it's Bob Bear for 785 Racing alongside the Garden Amsoil Racing number 24 of Paul Satmary. So this field going to get set to roll out this afternoon as you see drivers getting themselves into their own little rhythms here. I think today is going to be a really big day to keep tabs on John Osborne in that number 15 spot where he is starting out from. This, of course, a driver that is in a critical championship position, sitting just 4 points of the good on the cut line for the chase. He has to start getting some good results if he wants to get some insurance.
Yeah, and right now where he qualifies, not the greatest of spots, especially in the back half of the field for today's starting order. Going to have to pick up a lot of ground from the 15th position to be able to make it stick here if he wants to be able to have a chance in the long run here today to be able to score a good points day.
Aside from John Osborne, you, of course, take a look out over the course of the whole field, right? Who would you pick as a potential winner this afternoon at the end of our long run here in Pennsylvania?
Well, that's a tough question because some of the contenders I noticed, don't think we've really seen them today. So for quite simply, I think this is kind of a Dalton Kilroe opportunity with who's here today to be able to try and go. I know we said that a lot, but I have a feeling today might be a special day for him.
Dalton Kilroe has experienced mixed results here at Pocono. He's had quite a few results here, but don't forget, of course, season 1, that car went barrel rolling down the long pond straight in the final lap. So Kilroe, very much a love-hate relationship here at the Pocono Raceway as he looks set to finally conquer the tricky triangle and notch one more off on the belt here this afternoon. The iRacing pace car going to make its way around turn number 3. There is no turn 4 at the Pocono Raceway, and we're happy you're joining us for more racing action here on Monday night. The field makes their way into the restart zone, and it's go, go, go from the Keystone State. Boy, a little bit of bobbling back there as they fight their way down the long pond straight. Now fighting their way into the tunnel turn for the first time here this afternoon. Benjamin Lacey taking the lead away from Thor Burley off around the outside. 2 wide, deeper in the field. Kilroe trying to make the look for third into turn 3.
Yeah, the 2 machine you can see though has the opportunity to be able to get good runs, but Lacey has a better chance Got the squeeze on the 34. Thorpe Jr. forced the lift off the gas. Exactly what I said. Opens up the chance for the race to lead. And now Lacey gets the chance to control things. But the problem is, the drive's going to allow the runs right back to the inside here.
Drafting battles down the front stretch going to be critical, and that's why turn 3 is such a crucial momentum corner. Turn 1, you got to follow that momentum all the way through. You see Lacey up on the outside line, trying to open up an outer groove there, and down the back straightaway right alongside the bushes that poke out threateningly over the concrete wall. Thorpe still holding on to the inside line. Nickerson tucks in line, and Benjamin Lacey, I think, backed out of there, coming out of the straightaway to turn 2.
Kind of have to at that place, because for the most part with side-by-side, legacy version or new version, it's a little bit tricky to go there side-by-side, because you have that inside line that can wash up, that outside line takes the bumps. You lose a lot of ground as a result. Legacy taking advantage of, drops all the way down to 4th after the lead of the opening lap, just like that because of it.
Opening 2 laps are in the books. Thorpe's going to retake the lead of the race after starting this one from pole position. And right now, holder of the fastest lap of the race as well. Single file for the most part all the way back, but you got the Budweiser number 8 Kevin Foster running that Dale Jr. throwback. Look, going out down the inside of Jesse Gordon. They both turn around. It's hard into the inside wall. Oh my goodness, a huge crash on the back straightaway. Just shy of where we saw Steve Park overturn in 2002 with another Dale Jr. car.
Yeah, my goodness, that tire's absolutely broken up. That's a little bit broken suspension, just a little bit, you know what I mean? But
do we give him props for balancing act here?
I think quite simply, it's just the suspension geometry is warping right through the hood. But quite simply, tough time to have that happen. We know Gordon was pushing to the field. And at this point, just hoping the whole entire car doesn't collapse as he takes the shortcuts.
At least Kevin Foster knows that his left front is still there. It's not laying somewhere on the racetrack. There's a slight positive for him.
There's that, absolutely. But, I mean, obviously going to cost them a lot of points. Gordon in particular was only part-time this season, but we've seen him win races. Thorpe Jr., though, is going to be pushing too hard is the question. Let's take a look at what happened, though, with the incident. Yeah, Gordon just did it with the too high to the outside wall.
Oh, my goodness. And they slammed right into where the wall juts out to meet, right? And it was just the worst possible opportunity for them. Right aboard Kevin Foster here. And at that point, once you're in the grass, you're just a passenger.
It just becomes an absolute skating ring. And now at this point, take them out of contention. But right now, the 2 machine, Nickerson, just trying to find a way to match line to line. You can see the preference right now to carry the speed to the outside. You can make that work above the 1st and 2nd seam, but the way you can have things work with the gearing, which did have an adjustment for today to make sure drivers weren't on the chip. Here comes the send.
Yeah, the iRacing default on this one, 4.0 when it comes to the final drive ratio. They lowered it to 3.8 to give a bit of a longer run down the stretch to make sure they're not pinging off the chip too much. And that adjustment could very well be what allowed Nickerson to get that attack into turn 2. And he's going to try again here through 3, but he can't hold the inside. And Michael Thorpe Jr. has got the run out of turn 3. But Nickerson doing a good job on at least holding stage, but he's got to get in line because Wesley Triple's about to fill the hole.
Yeah, right now Triplett just trying to set things up. We know how quick Triplett was last time out. See him just trying to dig, find a way to poke to the outside. The problem is right now, just not enough speed to be able to get there. It has to wait for an opening that forces itself as these two burn up their stuff.
Trouble, turn 1, around goes Paul Satmary at the back end of the field. And this time, the caution flag will come out. And for those wondering, why is this one yellow, not the other one? Well, this one happened on the racetrack. Foster and Gordon's crash was way to the inside. That buys Michael Thorpe Jr. a couple laps of breathing room.
Yeah, now this chance to cool down the tires. Satmary's been having a rough season for his sake, though. A lot of times involved in trouble. This time through, looks like he was trying to get around Larry Bell on the outside. We've already seen issues off of turn 1. In this case, Bell pushed up off the bottom and into Satmary and helps him around.
And then Satmary's going to come down across the racetrack and just clip the 75 of Bob Arian. caused the 24 to fishtail around, and that is where, of course, the yellow flag came out here this afternoon. Look at this again at speed, and you'll watch as Bell pushes off the seam, just got tight, and you were talking about how easy it is to get tight off the corners here, as easy it is to get loose, and tell you what, a great save from the number 75 right on board to Barry.
Yeah, let's take a look indeed. See this right here, had a perfect viewpoint. You're going to see just how much of a struggle it is on third gear with the bit of the corner. Just able to hook it left without it biting to the right on him on a slide.
And that, of course, keeps him from going into the concrete wall. Now, of course, the concrete wall on the outside, not the only thing that's different, of course, where the modern-day version has safer barriers. You also are missing the catch fence all the way from turn 1 down into turn 2, and in fact, that catch fence wasn't even brought in until post-2010, right? So it's a bit surprised that it took them that long to get the catch fence in, and of course, the reason why the catch fence came in, Casey Kane almost went into the woods in the year before.
Yeah, it was a chaotic incident for River back to that point, but at this point for the drivers, about making sure there's no major stack ups from here on out. Will we see some top offs this early? It looks like the answer is yes. A lot of people coming down. In fact, Triplett is not coming.
Wesley Triplett, of course, making a huge statement last time out, besting Jaden Hobb, arguably one of the best drivers in this league in his first ever start, and he was saying how much he wanted to come back and make some more starts if he had the opportunity. Well, he's going to stay out of the bold pit strategy. He's not the only one. Scott Shire, Michael Keithley, Connor Gibson also staying out. Everyone else is in. And Nickerson's taking tires while James Yerger missed the box.
Yeah, some of the drivers I think mixing up, because some drivers I know think Pocono might be like Talladega in terms of tire wear, a little bit better in terms of positioning when you have the tires, I think, long run. But overall, for these competitors, it's an opportunity here to see some different strategies, since a lot of competitors see it more of like a drafting track per se. I'm curious how the tires hold up overall, though. Better yet, how this works out on the math for drivers like Triple here.
This still is the crash again that took Jesse Gordon and Kevin Foster out of the race. And you're going to watch here as the number 10 is going to track up. Just got tight, no contact. It was an unforced error, and up clips the safety barrier, and that spins him down right into the path of Kevin Foster, who just had nowhere to go. And then they spear all the way down the racetrack. All four wheels locking up on both cars, and right where that arm kill barrier juts out to let safety vehicles in.
Yeah, just a hard lick to the inside wall that destroys them, all from Gordon pushing two up high on the exit, forced them into the wall and down into the 8 machine. And at that point, you're fighting with the bite of the car because you can get pretty tight there. Just watch this right here. You can see him trying to let it roll. Sounds like trying to let it roll and forfeit from what sounds like it just washes up on the throttle point, hits the wall. That puts it right back into the position of the 8.
And a vicious hit into the wall will take both the 10 and the 8 out of the race early on here this afternoon. So 2 drivers down and out. Brian Dees has been bopped with a black flag, and in fact, he is going to be out of this race as well, while we have James Yerger coming back down to the pits. In fact, a few drivers coming down to make extra top-offs under this yellow flag.
That has to be pretty telling on how close the fuel mileage might be to make it for how their strategies can play out. Remember, Pocono known for a lot of fuel mileage races around this time. So for these drivers, chance to be able to stretch it, all more critical to be able to top off an extra half a gallon or so to their tanks.
And all three of the 4 here, save for Coruscant, also took a fresh, not 2 tires, but 4 tires. And they're not the only ones. Nickerson on fresh 4s, Lacey on fresh 4s. I question, though, how effective a set of 4 is going to be less than 10 laps into the race. Now, if we were, say, lap 15 or 16, I would understand it, but shy of lap 10, I would be thinking to be 2 tires at the most.
Decent point. I almost wonder with the tire balance if it'd be a little bit too much with the left side. Just with the setup, might be some of the thought process there. For those staying out here, it's the curious part. Will they slowly sink back, or will they be able to hold on just because the equalization point that much more tighter at a track like Pocono? It really depends on how these first few laps really turn out to see where some of these tires play out.
It'll be lap 10 when this race gets back underway. Pocono has always been known as a track that eats tires for breakfast almost as much as Miles the Monster, who hails from Delaware. But are the tires going to be that much of a factor? We'll find out in just a few moments. The green flag is back in the air. Inside lane checks, and Wesley Triplet gets a great launch down towards turn number 1.
Kind of can do that as the control car here pretty clearly. Bit of a jump and a half, but for Keith Lee and company, Wheel of the Battles hold them back a little bit. You see the 34 ready to try and poke the second the holes open up here. As we have a crash in the back.
Multiple cars hard into the wall. Carter Phillips has been absolutely demolished. Jonathan Canfield has damaged. Bob Berry, who we were just complimenting on doing a good job in avoiding the first incident, he's facing the wrong way, and I think either Sean Williams or Paul Satmary may have caught piece of that as well, but it was at least 3 cars around to the tail end. That's going to slow this one down in a hurry.
What's going to help the fuel mileage for those who just topped off a little bit to help their sake? Wouldn't be surprised to come down again, but I think that collected a lot of those people here too from that. You see John Osborne, for example, already lost a fair amount of ground, part of those in the wave around group. As we slowly make our way to the scene, the question's going to be what happens to cause this caution flag. Once you go on through here, you'll see just with the middle of the corner, a wash up for Phillips. Way up the track, he couldn't make it stick.
And that collects Sean Williams, who backs into the fence. Jonathan Canfield catches a piece. And there you see Bob Berry getting turned by Paul Satmary, spinning down in the out of stage left. So looking like Carter Phillips absolutely got the worst out of that deal, unfortunately.
Yeah, just a rough slide up the track. I think Phillips just couldn't get the grip up going. Might have pushed a little bit too hard on the entry in the first place. Yeah, you see it a little bit deeper into the corner, and then it just washes up on him right into the path of everybody else. Causes a stack of that outside line. Then they stacked him at the bottom in the midst of the checkup effect.
And that was Paul Satmary who got into the back of Bob Berry. And that was, of course, while they were all just trying to scramble to get around. So no real damage for Bob Berry, but I'm sure those Goodyear tires that he just got a fresh set of 4 on are going to be all but worthless now after that. And this is on board with Paul Satmary into the corner. And they're not really going to see the incident, right? He just sees smoke stacking up, and he was out of the throttle just too little too late at that point.
Yeah, Satmary, second incident involved in it on the night. Things just piling up for the 24. But we'll say this helps a little bit on the plenty for Triplet. The further we go with the cautions, might be able to help a little bit further on the windows. At this point, stamina control thing, top of the front, as drivers like Thorpe Jr. still have to fight through this traffic.
The Pocono Raceway has always been one of those tracks where you either have a relatively clean race here or the race just falls apart at a heartbeat, right? There's no in-between. It's either a caution fest or relatively caution-free, and the opening bell usually dictates how this is going to go. We didn't run this track in Season 4. We did run it, though, in Seasons 1 through 3. Now, there were 5 cautions or less in Seasons 2 and 3. Season 2 of which was actually on the Legacy Lap, by the way, and we only had 2 cautions for 6 out of 80 laps. That was back on May 13th of 2024. But the first time they were at this race, almost half the race was under yellow. 10 yellow flags, 30 of the 80 were spent behind the iRacing pace car. 19 cars started that race, and only 11 ended up finishing on the lead lap as a result of all the yellow flags. It's a track that can be brutal when drivers overestimate it, and could it be the fact that it's been almost 2 years since these guys have run the Legacy layout that's catching people out a little bit?
I think it's more so just, it's Pocono. Quite simply, in official races, that's kind of the trend as well you just mentioned. You spend a fair amount of time on the caution, you get a good belt of green flag racing in the middle of the race, and then you have chaos right at the start for the first 20 and the last 20. So it's not a shock, I think. I think it's just quite simply drivers are having the trouble spot of keeping it clean on a track that, in theory, you think has a lot of space, but in reality, sees a lot of potential contact as drivers wash up.
John Osborne coming down pit road for another top up on fuel. He's going to drop back to 17th. Now, for a driver that is in such a crucial points position on trying to point his way into the chase, I'm a little bit surprised to see him making a call to sacrifice track position this early on for what would be effectively an extra 2 laps of fuel.
I mean, he took it last time. Why not now? You don't have major track position. May as well take a few spot loss. Help save yourself long run in case you do get that long run right here and now. So it really opens up the door for what you want to do strategy-wise the rest of the way if you do get the long run compared to everybody else.
Taking a look at the live point standings, these are the top 5. So right now you can see that John Osborne is actually on the outside now of that cut line by 5 points from Brian Dees. Brian Dees has dropped back 2 positions. Connor Gibson sitting well though right now. He currently runs in the number 6 position, up 13 spots today, but he is one of the drivers that has not come down to pit road so far in the opening 13.
Yeah, he's one of the drivers, I think, just trying to play the game of hoping the track position works out. And we've seen him so far have to claw a little bit up to the pack. The question is, can he make the track position stick here for this upcoming restart?
Well, we'll find out in a hot second, won't we, as the field makes their way back into the restart zone. Green flag is up in the air. You see Sean Williams trying to catch the pack at the turn 3. He's going to have quite a lot of steam coming down the straightaway. Unlike Carter Phillips missing that front clip, who will have no power coming down the main straight, and already dropping back by several car lengths. Into turn 1, Scott Shire able to hold it alongside Michael Keithley. Wesley Trimble with another good getaway through the opening corner. Ty Marasco, meanwhile, round the outside of Michael Thorpe Jr., looking to pick off the number 4 spot as they make their way down Long Pond.
Who's really taking advantage of all these situations here? Jaden Hopp able to claw his way through with the caution periods. You know, usually he starts towards the back in terms of his qualifying. Actually put up a lap today in the middle of the field, up around the 11th position. He's been able to slowly pick them off one by one with the strategy as well, making it work.
Michael Thorpe Jr. takes the lead of the race away. Ty Marasco down in 5th. Jaden Hopp right behind him in 6th. Dalton Kuro in the back here as well. Making ground down the front straightaway. Jaden Hopp and Marasco clip the wall there for a hot second, entering turn number 1. And Connor Gibson fights his way through turn 1.
Yeah, you see right now Gibson with the older tires starting to wash back a little bit here. He was only, remember, mid-pack with qualifying speed. See opportunities to peel to the inside. If you open up the chances, though, it takes a lot of craftiness to get it done with the tunnel turn. Right now, just not able to get there with how far back he's dropped off back here with the runs. But we'll say, as things are getting solidified here, the fresher tires of the 2 are starting to come in a little bit with this little bit of an extra cut to the inside of the corner.
Nick Nickerson clawing his way through the field. One of the drivers that is on some fresh goods. In fact, he is so far on the freshest tires out of anybody in this field. Wesley Triplett resets the fastest lap of the race and has already broken almost a full second clear of the rest of the field up front. So this number 74 is on a tear right now up front.
Yeah, he's just ripping around and pulling away, saying, who needs the same tires when you can just break the draft? Some of the errors in this tow that you'll see like Lacey and company just have to let the car run their way. You see that inside groove coming on through to get the clean air on the front nose to get alongside the 97.
Dalton Kuro ducks around his MFRD teammate Eddie Hagge right behind, fighting it out with 785 Racing's Real Earth Films driver for Benjamin Lacey. Lacey trying to hold the inside, but Haggie's got the run up top, and he's going to secure that spot down the front straightaway for Eddie Hagge. Meanwhile, Marasco still fighting it out with his MFRD teammate here, and not a lot of team are being shown right now in the MFRD camp. They're dragging themselves back. They're now 6/10 down from Jaden Hopp up in 5th.
They got to find a way to close that up pretty soon, because if that breaks away for almost certain you're going to have a hard time to close up unless you're able to take advantage of raw speed with the tires. I think for Kilrow, that little extra bit of speed down the straightaway is going to absolutely be hurtful to not have that pull, since Hop is absolutely hooked on to the front group.
And Jaden Hobb linked up right now with Thorpe, Shire, and Keith. But the problem is, you look at how far back they are in comparison to Wesley Triplett, and they have absolutely lost the draft down the main straightaway. Wesley Triplett is taking off while Jaden Hobb trying to challenge the former pole sitter for fourth.
I'm not surprised to see this charge for the 0-0 with the way things have gone. Hop, one of the fastest drivers to field this season, as we've talked about, with multiple wins. But today, kind of one of the drivers having a claw's way forward. Didn't start for the exact back as referred to compared to what we normally does the mile and a half. So today, seems to be having a hard time just plucking them by because, well, that outside's just so powerful to be able to defend. And once you have that toe for the draft in front, you just get draft locked.
About to hit the 1/4 mark distance in this race. Michael Keithley, Scott Shire, Michael Thorpe Jr. still running 2, 3, and 4. Jaden Hobb trailing in a distant 5th place as well. So the battle packs showing no signs of going away anytime soon here. And I'm sure Wesley Triplett is a happy camper with that one, as he has got Pocono figured out front. James York has just caught the wall deeper in the field.
Might scrape the wall a little bit, push you up the racetrack again, it sounds like. Yeah, quite simply, trying to clear by the 75 and scraped it. But you see John Osborne Mutzels on the top-off strategy. Just trying to peel off drivers from the high side here, gain some track position. And we're going to be able to set himself up for an interesting bit of strategy later on if this does indeed run green. A little bit quicker in the corner.
John Osborne continuing to battle things out with Larry Bell right behind. Nicholas Corsell, second place of the points, still in the wings. Shire up front, holding on for the number 2 spot, and you start to wonder at this point, right, is that number 4 car a bit of a cork in the bottle? Of course, the car right behind him, Michael Keithley and Jaden Hobb, those are all old school racers teammates here. And Michael Thorpe Jr. clearly thinks he's being held up because he's trying to make that peak to the inside, but it goes wrong in 2. That lets Dalton Kilrow try to get a jump down low.
Well, there's some apologies over the radio there because of that. Here comes Ty Marasco. You also have Lacey, Sikorsky, everybody's bundling up here. It was in the 55-2s last time by for Shire, but all this battling has completely opened up the gap for the 4, who I don't think is a cork in the bottle. Keithley might be a part of it, if anything, along with Hoff, because they are so far a little bit slower by a couple tenths per lap compared to Shire. Here comes Hoff, though, to try and switch up the pattern.
Jaden Hobb trying to look around the outside of Michael Keithley here. 3rd place in the wings here as Hobb trying to make that run for the 3rd place spot around his teammate. Dalton Kilrow jumping up to the outside as well. Nickerson running back in 6th, while Kilrow tries to fight his way around the outside.
Yeah, look at this power on the outside once again. This shows that Keithley wants indeed that cork. Starting to lose a lot of ground here, having struggles to maintain the speed 4-corner apex. Look at this, the fresh tires. We talked about how long they come into play. The answer is this is where you really feel it. Nickerson really able to get a lot of wall compared to St. Kilrow to pass these cars left and right.
And Nick Nickerson now fighting the inside of Dalton Kilrow. Contact pushes Dalton Kilrow the track and nearly into the turn 2 wall. Able to keep it out of the fence, but that 2 car getting elbows out. No, in trouble. Benjamin Lacey's been turned up into the outside wall in 3, and caution is out. for the third time tonight.
They should bring everyone down pit road, but you can see things boiling up. Marasco, I think, wasn't expecting Lacey to get that early on the brakes. It sends around to 7, who is running decently all night, absolutely decimated.
Tough break here this afternoon. Wesley Triplet trying to hold on to the lead, and I'm sure Wesley Triplet's thinking, oh, come on, seriously? I mean, he's been getting such a good getaway from this field, but every time you think he's clear, something happens to put him right back into the mix. This is what happened to bring out caution number 3 on the night.
Yeah, take a look at this right now. See this with the build up behind. Marasco going to go a little bit deeper into the corner. Lacey was backing up a bit with Thorpe right beside, and it caused the checkup that caused the 7 to get hit, and hard rear contact to destroy the TV panel.
Boy, that's a rough break for Lacey. That could lead to quite a lot of rear suspension damage. The sole grace is that he more or less hit that wall square on, so he might be saved from a little bit of extra damage, but I know that that's going to take quite a bit of extensive repairs to get that car back into pristine condition in the pits.
Yeah, at this point, the frustration going to build up here, but everybody else, as you would expect, is going to come down here. This puts us under 60 laps to go by a clear margin, and now it's going to be interesting how the rest of the fuel strategy plays out for this one because of this yellow.
And I would imagine anybody that hasn't taken tires is going to do so now, as everyone going up on the jacks. No surprises here. You're kind of at the point now where you kind of got to take tires if you want to remain competitive here in this race. And it's going to be James Yerger making his way out, taking fuel only. How about that?
Well, that's an interesting play. I don't know about that one. I don't know if he was one of the top. I believe it might have been one of the people who took tires last time. Probably said, may as well bank a set. Yeah, but the thing is, there's 4 tire sets in the pits. Why not just take it?
Boy, oh boy. A lot of drivers now going to be jumbled up as a result of this one. And James Yerger leading the way, putting in the clutch. So evidently going for a fuel strategy of some description here this afternoon. We'll take ourselves with a quick step back, and when we return, it is racing action coming back at you here on Green Flag TV in just a moment. Stay with us. We'll be back with a restart.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Green Flag TV, where racing action is set to battle once again here at the Pocono Raceway. My name is Will Ramble alongside Justin Praise. We're going to do all the action from the tricky triangle. 24 cars started this race, 20 remain on the racetrack. And Justin, it looks like that damage to Benjamin Lacey may have been a bit more serious than anticipated, because he has lost a lap trying to get it fixed.
I knew that was going to be a lot of damage just because the back end with that TV panel just cost you so much downforce and ability to maintain in the corners. So for Lacey, kind of had to take it. Now the hope is get some caution flags, get on the lead lap, get back in a position here. But the strategy is on for Jürger, hoping for cautions, as the fuel was the priority for him in this sake. Everybody else took 4 behind him.
James Jürger will get points for leading laps, possibly gambling on another yellow flag to come out early here to help him maintain that lead. Lacey saving grace, a quick caution gets him on the lead lap. He is right now the sole lucky dog candidate. Iverson pace car makes its left-hand dive into the box. And once again, this field going to get underway just as Lacey catches the tail of the field, and we're back to green.
Oh, Jürger didn't get a good jump to the gears. Already 3 wide as the field takes him wide.
Did not take Wesley Triplett and Jaden Hobb long to go on offense here. Triplett clear for the lead, and we know what that means. That means Triplett is about to check out once again. Oh, Jürger a little bit loose there through turn 1, and old tires could be coming back to bite him here. Thorpe on the inside of 3 wide now, trying to go 2 for 2 for the number 2 spot, and Jürger's catching the outside wall.
This working not well at all for Jürger with the older tires here. Didn't have the track position in the first place, and everybody else is just giving him the elbow, not willing to give him space. They just want to make passes, get clean space before things start spreading apart here, and Jürger is getting shredded apart.
Well, as we've seen with Wesley Triplett up front, if you lose the draft to the guys in front of you, the odds that you're going to be able to run them down are pretty slim. So these guys are desperately trying to get their way around Jürger as quick as they can as they fan it out almost 4 wide down the front straightaway into turn number 1 this time through. Jürger's able to hold on, and Nickerson trying to track to the outside of John Osborne. And the Miller Genuine Draft number 2 up to the outside. Can't attack John Osborne, though, out of 1.
Yeah, the 2 with all this lost a lot of ground, mind you, partly with the top-off situation. A lot of those who topped off, by the way, going to be like Hagee, like Kilroe, many of the others, just that extra bit of gas to help extend them with the windows here. But keep in mind, up in the front of the field, Thorpe Jr., you should be surprised, is up to second as well. He's able to pass by Hopp. Shire right behind also.
Scott Shire trying to run down his old school racers teammate Jaden Hobb, but Mike Thorpe Jr. started to pull the IndyCar stay. Might be trying to keep in line with Wesley Triplett up the road. Triplett still holding on by about 0.7 of a second here. Thorpe trying to see if he can't mount an offensive, but right now Triplett is starting to pull away, and the pole setter looking like he doesn't have an answer for that 74. Jaden Hoff up to the outside, meanwhile trying to make something happen through turn 2 and back down into 3. As the fight's going to keep on developing here. Eddie Hague and James Jürger still in the fray as Jürger up to the inside. Can't clear the pass on Eddie Hague. Towards the front, Nick Nickerson started about another charge on John Osborne. Can he have an answer through turn 1 this time through? The answer is no, not going to get something. In fact, Osborne goes a little bit wide. Keithley trying to attack Marasco and almost sent Marasco into the turn 1 wall.
Yeah, that was a little bit deep once again on the stand. At this point, Osborne saying, you know what, I know you're faster to the 2 machine, I'll let you go. But in the case of Keithley here, know how he's not willing to give up the spots here tonight. If you want to make a pass on him, you have to get alongside and get him on speed, and that's exactly what the 2 just did.
So Ty Marasco up front. Oh boy, all 3 cars in this fight here. Kicking the tail end out off the final corner. Nickerson going around the long way of Michael Keithley. Ty Marasco trying to battle this one through as well. And Nickerson tucking into that middle groove. Tell you what, this middle line that the legacy version of Pocono has been a lot more prominent than we usually see on the more modern versions of this track, right? I think the bottom lane, especially in turn one, just isn't all that viable from all the bumps.
That's what I was trying to allude to earlier on, right? And I still feel the same way about the modern Pocono. With the second groove of the modern, with the higher groove for second and third here at Pocono, just able to gear shift or no gear shift, carry a lot more momentum coming off the corner, and then you get the shift up. And with the modern Pocono, in fact, you gotta remember, there's actually the white dots that were originally there on the racetrack that were the shift points, if you would think about it like that, where you would have the exact point where you have to be into third gear, the exact point where you have to hit the throttle, exact point where you have to go into fourth gear, and then you're good for the back straightaway up towards turn two. So it really helps you with the guideline as Osborne. That time needed a guideline, he hit a wall.
And right behind them, Connor Gibson going evasive as Eddie Hagen nearly ran over to the left rear quarter panel. Hagen now trying to punch his ticket into a top 10 down the inside of turn two. James Yerger has managed to find his footing again on the older tires, and he's kind of stabilized and stopped the bleeding around to the 12th place spot. Problem is now he's stuck on that outside line in three. He's having a hard time running down Connor Gibson and clearing Eddie Hagen.
Yeah, that's the tough thing again with this track. Passing is one of the things at a premium the longer the runs go. See that a lot. This sake, Yerger nearly cost himself there, actually scraped the wall a little bit. But you can just see how much struggle Bus is on for his tires. He just cannot turn as much, has to slow down a fair bit more compared to, say, Hagee. But no one else can take advantage because they don't have that ability to take the outside and get the better run in the first place. They have to shred up their tires and use the bottom line, which we know is filled with bumps.
Oh, look out behind! Sean Williams kicking the back end out from turn two and nearly going around. That lets Jonathan Canfield attacking for 16th. So quite a few drivers starting to flirt with the edges of control on the exit of these corners. A lot of power underneath these machines and not a lot of banking to help them keep it under control. So far, we've been doing a good job for the most part. All incidents have just been a result of car-to-car contact. But that doesn't mean that the ever-prominent self-spin isn't too far away at a track that's called the Tricky Triangle for a reason.
Especially, I don't think there's going to be a self-spin per se. I think it's just straight the chaos is building up here for a lot of these drivers in terms of the handling on the rear end. It's more so a lot of the right front. I think that's the issue with the burn-up. Look at this, though. Marasco pushed up the corner again. Opens up the door for everybody else to peel onside again.
On board with the Montreal Canadiens, number 31 of Connor Gibson clears Marasco out of turn number 3, battling to the front stretch. Eddie Hagen, meanwhile, trying to look to the inside of Ty Marasco. Hagee sending her in deep. While Ty Marasco tracking up to the outside line, and the DQ number 1 going to seek to fight this one out another day. He retains a top 10.
Yeah, hey, right now Marasco having a decent points day. He needed a good points day here today. So far, outside of that contact with the 7, stayed mostly out of trouble. But the problem is, I think drivers like Hagee, who are on the top off, are that much quicker long run. You'll see it with the chance here, though. You get the chance to pinch, force the lift, get your competitor off the gas, break their momentum, force the back of the trap. And now this is the part of the race where you're going to have to think about strategy to be able to leapfrog some of your competitors.
Developments up front as well. Wesley Triplett's lead has been slowly cut into more and more by Michael Thorpe Jr. And could this be a situation where Wesley Triplett's good in the short run, not so much on the long run? I mean, look at 3 laps prior, quarter of a second gain on lap 32 from Thorpe, and he's gained another 200ths there. He's gained another whole 1/10 of a second, make that a quarter of a second in that one corner. Now Triplett's on defense. Does Triplett have a problem?
I'm not quite sure if he does or not here, but the time is definitely looking like it's time through, falling off a little bit. I think right now the 34 and the 00 are just closing up with the draft, allowing the draft to close them up bit by bit down the straightaways. That's why they've been staking so much.
So the fight is on for the lead of the race, and all of a sudden, Wesley Triplett's breakaway not looking to be so ideal. Could have burned up a lot of his equipment in the early portions of this green flag run. You still see him going on defense down the Long Pond Straight, even though Thorpe isn't opted to follow.
Yeah, in particular, you do that snake when you do the draft because, to me, at least it scrubs time. But the problem is, so many people follow it because there's the benefit with the draft with straight line that allows you to keep up the RPMs and get a little bit higher up on them than you normally would by just holding a straight line. And a lot of people just say, I'll pass by you if you don't follow the snake. That's why they're so dependent on following what the 74 does. If they want a chance at the draft, it looks like this time Thorpe Jr. didn't want to pull fully to the snake low.
Might be trying to play a little bit of defense against Jaden Hopp behind as well. Thorpe's kind of having to worry about two different drivers simultaneously here. He's trying to go on offense, but he's also got to worry about Hopp from behind him. And I think Jaden Hopp is trying to keep himself set up for turns 2 and 3, which is why we don't see him following that snake down these shorter straights. But obviously, with turn 1 being one of the longest straights on the NASCAR calendar, Thorpe's not left with much option but to follow the leader.
Yeah, and right now, caution flag is out. We had some more troubles in the back.
Jonathan Canfield looking like the result of this one, and Benjamin Lacey, two more drivers getting tangled up. And this yellow flag should put us either right at or just shy of halfway when we go back green. Let's take a look and see if we can find out what happens.
Yeah, you'll see this right here. A lot of shouting happened over the radio with what happened from Williams and Southbury. And yeah, that was Southbury trying to force it along the curbs. You're going to open a door, and then Canfield gets turned in the aftermath as well with Lacey. And Williams, he also gets a hard bit of contact, shreds up the left front. You see the tire trying to poke through the hood.
Deshaun Williams kind of looked like that car was already torn up by the time he already entered the shot there. Did he run into the back of Bob Berry, perhaps?
Kind of think so. Yeah, Southbury just ran way too low there.
Aye. And yeah, right there again, you see how the 89's wheel is already completely bent out of shape. Let's see if we can dissect Williams here.
Yep, he definitely ran into the back of him.
Oh, that'll do it. Disconnect to the left front immediately. Was lucky to avoid the two cars, but I'm sure it doesn't mean all that much, right? I mean, when the wheels bent out like that. The good news is, with how long the caution laps here, should be able to get that wheel fixed. Might not even lose a lap. And it's gone. It is somewhere on the racetrack.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a little bit longer than you predict. But it's going to take a little bit of long while to fix up the suspension after a hit like that. But everybody except Dalton Kilroe came down pit road. Only the 41 not peeling down here. Coming to 41 laps to go next time by. That is a major risk, with a lot of these drivers probably thinking about when they will take the final stop from here.
And keep it in mind as well the fact that Kilroe came down a second time on the last yellow flag for some extra fuel as well. So Kilroe is looking to run this stint long. 3 wide on pit exit. It's Triplett, Hopp, Thorpe for the top 3 on their way out of pit road. Few drivers stand extra, and that will no doubt be for damage repairs. I'm curious to see how bad Bob Berry got nicked up in all of this. Let's see if we can ride on board to the back of Berry.
Yeah, I don't know, because Berry did have a 44-second bit of repair, though. This hit did damage him a little bit internally, I think, and with the rear, he did get it all fixed. Still keeps him around 16th.
Well, check when he comes around turn number 3 here. See if we can see anything on the right rear. Not much from here, so it must have all been underneath the car. Oh, no, you see a little bit of a scuff there on the back.
Yeah, quarter panel's crushed in. Was able to fix all of that and get it done. So at this point, Sean Williams looks like going to be done for the race. That's going to be a potentially big shift in the point standings here, Nolan, especially with how Williams has been consistent most of the season.
Taking a look at the top 15 here in this one. As it is Jaden Hopp who still retains the run up front right now. The number 12 spot, that is where you're looking for the final spot in. Right now it is held by Benjamin Lacey. John Osborne able to fight his way back in. He was out down to 14th place earlier today. Sean Williams has dropped 2 positions for the time being, and that will help to promote Michael Thorpe Jr. and Dalton Kilroe up the road.
Yeah, this is a big opportunity for some of the drivers here to pick up ground, but I will say for Lacey, that incident earlier really didn't help his case. I think Marasco has a chance to maybe gain a few more points to get up to Connor Gibson here. It's all about those stepping stones to be able to set yourself up for the next part of the run and so forth and so forth. It's about constant consistency. I mean, that's what they did in real world NASCAR today. Moving back to the chase. Full-term consistency back on the platter.
A lot of changes, of course, being made to the chase, and that also, keep in mind, includes an extra bonus being given to the winner of the regular series season, and critically as well, no more winning you're in as well, so no more fluke drivers locking themselves into the chase. So, and of course, a lot of leagues, right, they like to follow the NASCAR schedule and NASCAR rules, so we could be seeing quite a few different leagues all across iRacing having some serious championship format shakeups over the coming weeks.
Already seen at least 2 leagues that at least I cover say they're going to copy and replicate those results. We had another one that went almost with the 4-4-3, but their own version of it for a 4-race chase finale for the point standing. So it really depends league to league. Going to be surprised to see a lot more of those shakeups. This series only had the chase. That's the main thing. They still had a 5-race chase.
Field set to go back at it. And it is halfway home. 40 down, 40 to go. We're halfway home at Pocono.
First time Trumpo not able to get the greatest of launches because he's not a control car, but it's still a decent one. Everyone else, though, going to have to be careful up to the corner. See the couple drivers already wash up a little bit. Keithley pushing Osborne out of the groove.
Dalton Kilroe on the oldest tires of the field here with everyone taking 4 under that pit stop run. Still managing to break out a 0.3 of a second gap through turn 1, and we'll see how that gap fares as they make their way through turn 2. But I'll tell you what, Kilroe's got something to work with him. Oh, look out! Thorpe gets sideways, and Jaden Hopp caught the wall coming off 2.
That's not great here. I don't know if he's been having the best of runs, and Marasco is hit.
Oh, he's going to spin around. Does he get hit? No, everyone manages to avoid him. Stellar job in the field. A single car spin slows us down again.
Sikorsky got clipped there in the mid process too. Just could see it absolutely coming as some of the drivers pushed up and washed up out into 3. But let's take a look at this again. A lot of drivers lucky. It all started right about here. You see the run coming up to the 94, but where are they going to be able to stick it into the corner? You see the wash up that will come up right about here. Marasco trying to take just the edge of the seam. Sikorsky pushes up from the bottom of the track up to the middle into the side of the 1, and Marasco has to go for a ride.
And look at the job that everyone does here avoiding this. Sikorsky is going to catch the wall with the left rear and then the right rear and then the right front. But everyone else managing to get through that unscathed. That, and you know as well as I do, Justin, a sight like that is a rarity where you get a restart wreck like this and it's only a single car incident.
Absolutely, especially with how things could go. And look at this wash up. It just takes precise movement. So that hit off Sikorsky might have actually saved him, because if he didn't hit the 94 second time coming down the track, the momentum would have carried him right to the path of a couple others on the bottom of the racetrack, and it might have been, instead of a couple car incident, 4 or 5.
Gonna ride on board with James Yerger here. He was right behind the mess, and he had to jump up top to avoid it. Did a good job on locking it down and was able to duck his way on through, and it was a similar look with Jonathan Canfield at the number 16. Canfield is down pit road right now, and this is the look that he saw. He went around the inside.
Yeah, he was one of the drivers that just got lucky with the timing of it. See, right here, if it wasn't for the slow up for the 94, it would have been right into him, probably on the front nose by a few feet. Instead, Canfield gets lucky on that incident as Marasco is taking a lengthy pit stop here.
And Marasco's into the box. Sikorsky is making his way out. So is Jonathan Canfield. I see Carter Phillips in as well. Nicholas Corcel is in. Benjamin Lacey back on the lead lap, as he has managed to get all of his damage repaired. And, of course, a lucky dog free pass sees him get back on the lead lap. Now he'll come to pit road to get his service done. And that will leave us, assuming Marasco gets back out there and does Sikorsky, it will end up being 24 to start, 20 remain, all on the lead lap.
Yeah, this is big, I think, for Lacey to help his sake. But everybody else here, it's going to be the question on, can you make sure you're in the right spot for the green light on fuel? And this, with this race becoming a roulette of sorts on a bit on strategy, it's going to be for many of these drivers, can you time it up just right to save a set, be able to help yourself later on? I think Kilroe is going to have to hope that comes pretty soon, because he's going to have to be obviously the first to come through here. If he can get the caution he's waiting for, get the chance to equalize with everybody else, he might actually win this race, because the way things are shaping up. I don't know, though.
I can't imagine why Dalton Kilroe still has not come down pit road. He was among the drivers that came down for an early pit stop earlier on. Do you reckon maybe he burned an extra set that he didn't want to, and he's trying to save it for later?
Possibly. That's a possible thought process. I know he did some of the top ups earlier. I think it's more so just, if he wants to win this race, he has to try something different, right? You have to get in front of Triplet, because Triplet's made it clear, you give him clean air, he runs away. So this takes away the clean air. It gives yourself the chance to see if you can break away a bit until you have to peel down, and you're banking on attrition still coming into play.
Dalton Kilroe making his 92nd start this afternoon. His last official win, his last win in general in the High Tide Racing League was in the first duel of the season. We, of course, did not broadcast that race, but his last overall win was June 22nd of 2025 when he won at Dover after starting in third. That was back when we were still running the ARCA car around the midway point of the season. Since then, this season, he has finished runner-up 4 different times, as well as a third place. But so far in points action, that top spot on the podium has remained ever elusive for the number 41. Probably has among the most runner-ups of anybody all season long, and really looking to finally get on the top step.
Yeah, it's been close a few times, but the problem is now, will the strategy roulette work out perfectly up in the front? Still have 36 laps to go when we come to the stripe. There's a lot of variables and a lot of people who are hungry to make this pass pretty soon to take the lead.
Green flag coming out this time by, and we are back to it. Wesley Triplet tucks back in line and immediately shuts down Jaden Hopp hard, coming down the front straightaway and back into turn number 1. Can the field maintain their clean running as they make their way out of the opening corner? Triplet looking for the inside early, and Kilroe not able to get a good jump like he did the last time out.
Yeah, this time able to keep it alongside, and better yet, get the pole. This is going to cost Kilrow in terms of how he wanted to pop this play out for the clean air. But now the thought is, can he make sure to stay up here? Look at this crossover, though.
Huge over and under move into turn 3. He's going to go for a Hail Mary here into the third corner of the racetrack. A little bit of 3 wide behind. Forces Scott Shire out wide. Kilrow's got the bottom, but he can't clear. And Wesley Triplett will get a run down the front straightaway. Kilrow goes offensive. Jaden Hopp's got a run. Will Jaden Hopp try to go into the 5th lane down there to make a run for the lead? No, he won't. He'll stick in line, and Kilrow clears him in a 1.
A good fight back here from Kilrow, and kind of shows the difference on tires here. Some of the air tracks compared to Pocono, where you can fight back, but this opened up the door for Hopp because he got the better run with everyone holding each other up here to have it set for 2.
5 cars under a blanket. Jaden Hopp to the inside of Dalton Kilrow. Hopp looking for win number 15 of his High Tide Racing League career. Dalton Kilrow round the outside. Jaden Hopp retains down on the bottom, and you still have Wesley Triplett, one of the best cars on restarts here, still trailing in 3rd. Nickerson and Poulsen and Michael Thorpe Jr. also round out the top 5. Kilrow, can he get clear of Hopp here to turn 1? No. Hopp's got the side draft down the front.
Now you see though, again, he's been struggling with him getting tight coming off the bottom of a couple of these corners though. Look at the way he's got the gears lined up though. Good pull off of the corner to be able to maximize the RPMs before the shift up to 4th to get to the door at the very least.
Quite a run that these guys have with each other here as Dalton Kilrow tries to fight it out. Right behind them, Wesley Triplett with a front row seat to all the action. Jaden Hopp gets back in line as Dalton Kilrow got a run, and Hopp slipped up from the inside line.
Everyone just, I think it's starting to get coiled up here. Triplett, I think though, has the better line. Hit the wall though. That's going to cost him a lot of speed. Slow it up a little bit for the straightaway and open up a chance for the Guardian machine to have a chance to pull despite no drafting help.
And Michael Thorpe Jr. seeking the podium, and that Chicago native really wants to get his lead back here as well. Michael Thorpe Jr., one of the drivers that you could argue has been one of the hard luck contenders. Second most amount of starts in league history, but it's been a long time since we have seen that number 34 in victory lane here in the High Tide recently. Last time out was all the way back in April of last year at the Echo Park Speedway. And Thorpe desperately trying to get his first win of the season here as well.
Thorpe's been close a few times on speed throughout the campaign, but hasn't been able to get the edge at the very end. See Triplett starting to get really tight. May have really burned up the right front tire here, trying to push to get around some of these cars. But I will say, for this 34, good opportunity here to get a W. Second on his strategy. Needs to find a way to get up to Hopp, though, with Hopp starting to build a buffer with Kilrow.
I think a lot of the strategies, though, have to rely on this race more or less going green, or some of them hope another yellow flag is going to happen. Now, granted, the odds that this race goes green to the end, based on the type of racing we've seen so far this afternoon, slim to none. I mean, we have seen a lot of car-to-car content today, a lot of aggression and hard into the wall for Jaden Hopp, and has that broken the right front. Thorpe's able to keep steady, and it looks like the right front is still connected, but a close call, and Jaden Hopp definitely got lucky with that hit.
Extremely lucky he didn't get hit from the rear end in particular to compound that. Just pushed up too tight. As I said, he's been tight all night long, it seems, and that might have just cost him a big chance to try and win this one.
Well, Jaden Hopp will have to fight it out now with Wesley Triplett, the driver that got the best of him just 1 week ago. Now, of course, the big ticket, can he do it? Can he get that job done? It's going to be quite a compelling drive for him, but for the time being, it's a bit of a who knows moment for Jaden Hopp. A little bit side by side behind Eddie Haggy down the inside of Scott Shire. Takes the spot away. Keithley trying to follow through and nearly turns his teammate.
Yeah, it's been that way all night with Keithley's aggression here. But Marasco, remember, had to get all that damage repaired from its initial contact and slide down the racetrack. We know he's quick here. I think Marasco's a top 10 driver today. The question is, can he get the car to stay there as he tries to go for 8th?
Time Marasco, a big-time contender, and Marasco finished runner-up. The last time they were out here, he was in a huge fight for the win with Austin Edstrom. Edstrom ran out of fuel coming to the line. Marasco ran into the back of him. They both ended up spinning and crashing across the line. It was about half a car length that saw Marasco lose out in that Pocono race, and trying to see if he can regain some of that lost glory. Now he's at the inside of Hagen, trying to look for Shire, but he's not able to get there. Shire cuts him off into 3.
Yeah, Shire not giving the space right now. Marasco nearly hit by Keithley again on the lunge. Some of these drivers are going to have to be extremely careful on how they gas it up because of how tight these corners are getting here. A lot of drivers are separated, but when you have giggles like this, usually breeds chaos here.
Under 30 laps to go, and Michael Thorpe Jr. is putting Dalton Kilrow on notice. He is here, and he is ready to take that lead back. And for the first time since he lost it earlier today, Michael Thorpe Jr., the pole sitter, trying to go back for the lead in turn 2.
Yeah, thought about the poke there with the run and some communications popping on the radio. Drivers being told to be careful here. A little bit of over-aggression possibly here.
I'm not 100% sure if I agree with that. I don't think there's been a lot of over-aggression in this fight. I mean, this is just hard racing. Let them race. I mean, this has been fantastic so far in this fight for the lead, so long as they can manage to keep it out of each other at the very least. Nick Nickerson, meanwhile, now looking to the inside. Michael Thorpe Jr. diving back into turn 1. Jaden Hobb all the way up to the outside line. And of course, last week's winner, Wesley Triplett, still very much in the mix and ready to battle. And Kilrow could be under siege.
Especially since he's going to have to pit soon. And based on the distance, probably can make it to the end on fuel in the next couple laps. But right now, he's going to have to make sure he stays pretty careful here. He won't have the draft to help him with the straight line. Compared to some of the others behind, that's a little bit of a close squeeze.
Hey.
Thorpe Jr. forced the 2 way off the gas. Some hard racing and battling, as you were saying. We've got a crash in the back. It doesn't matter. Lacey's in the wall again.
And Lacey, for the second time, has hit the turn 3 wall, and this time it looks to be a lot more devastating than when he backed it in. That car's gone in nose first, and look at that left front there, Justin. Just like we saw with Kevin Foster, that wheel geometry is just shoved into the car.
Yeah, his race is toast at this point. That's the best thing you could say. It's been quick all day, but now, for the second time, significant damage, but this helps Kilrow. This is exactly what he was hoping for.
Sure was. Could not have asked for more on that one. Now, I'm not seeing anybody around Benjamin Lacey. Has he lost this one by himself?
I don't know. Quite certain this replay is going to be definitely telling here. You see him in the middle of the corner. Here comes the problem. Nicholas Corcel, huge send, gets him in the fender, and you're not going to hold on to that when you correct like that.
Huge lick into the wall. I don't know where Corcel thought it was taking that run. I mean, he was nowhere close.
I did hear him pop on the radio a couple times right before that moment. Yeah, but this time, was a fairways back, the 7. Trying to set these up to hold the line, and Corcel just had that much more momentum.
Jeez Louise, a big hit into the wall. Let's run on board with Corcel here. Let's see what he saw.
Yeah, you see the speed difference a little bit compared to the leader, but Corcel, right here, right up against the curving. It was a tight window. I think he was thinking Lacey was going to go up a little bit higher so he could get alongside for the apex.
I mean, devil's advocate, Corcel never throttled into him. I mean, the RPMs were going down throughout all of that. He was just carrying a lot more speed into the corner and clearly was not expecting Lacey to be going as slow as he was.
Exactly, and go as low as he was for the Apex. And it kind of set things up for the spin. But now, this sets things up for an interesting bit of strategy here for some of the drivers where do they use their last set here? Do they have a last set to burn coming up? It's going to be interesting.
If you're Kilrow, you have to come down. I mean, you're going lap 30 on those tires. You're coming down if you're Kilrow, and it looks like he's going to take a good chunk with him. This caution really saves Kilrow's strategy game here because now he's able to get back on cycle with everybody else, and he never even lost the lead throughout all of that. He got really lucky with a lot of those yellow flags. Not a single car is staying out, so he should come out in the lead as well. And critically as well, you can go the distance from here on fuel. So the yellow flag is out once again, and it's going to be 4 tires and fuel for just about everybody here this afternoon. John Osborne, first one out of the box, trying to beat him out, and Kilrow not going to take the lead out of pit road, and Thorpe has jumped him. A long stop for Kilrow, and he is going to drop from 1st to 8th.
That had to be an issue in the box itself there. Kilrow 3 seconds longer than everybody else. He missed his stall. That is the huge issue, and it just cost Kilrow the race probably.
Well, I would normally agree, but as we've seen, this race has a lot to offer, and there is pretty good odds here that we are going to be in it for quite a long while here before this race draws to a close. We'll take another step back when we return. Racing action continues once more on Green Flag TV. Stay with us.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Tonight's rendition of the High Time Racing is brought to you by Ohio and Indiana Roofing, a premier roofing contractor and sister company to the Bruns Construction Enterprise. Specializing in construction industrial roofing and are committed to accommodating the unique needs of every client, offering creative solutions to meet those needs. A team of individuals that works for the same common goals: professionalism, quality, and service. Offering services such as preventive maintenance, re-roof, new construction, infrared scanning, green roof solutions, metal, retrofitting, emergency repair services, and more. Visit www.oiroofing.com for more information. Justin, this race about to go back to green flag racing, and it has been turned on its head.
Yeah, this has now been placed into a race where it comes down to how can you keep the track position for the point standings. Now that you're shaking from the top, but Lacey hoping for a bit of luck, only 2 points ahead of Connor Gibson with the way things are shaped up. Gibson is inside the top 10. Marasco there also pretty soon. Claw away some points. It's a disaster if you're the 7 right now with the way things are shaping up.
And Benjamin Lacey has tumbled down the order as a result of this when he could very well be out of the top 12 in the chase positions before this race is out. Green flag is back in the air. Under 25 laps to go. And the pole setter Michael Thorpe Jr. leads us back to green for the second time this afternoon. Wesley Triplett hot on his heels. He wants that lead back as well.
Yeah, right now Triplett ready to dig. Look at the wash up though for Thorpe. Just couldn't get it to rotate up the bumps. And a hard hit.
John Osborne hard into the wall and now spinning to the inside is Scott Shire. Shire hard into the inside wall. He rebounds to the access road. Caution comes out as a result. And that is a result of, because of these older layouts of this racetrack. Remember, those access roads, Justin, on this old skin, they serve a dual purpose, not just for emergency vehicles, but for several versions of Pocono's infield road courses, which means technically designated as racing surface.
Yeah, and Shire absolutely demolished yet again from that sequence because of the hard contact. That came out just at the perfect time for Thorpe Jr. Hold on, Triplet had the scoring loop almost, just almost.
Take another look back. And we're already kind of stacked up back there as well. This is already in progress, and you see Ty Marasco spin out the 4, and he's going to pirouette around, and that nose is, he's going to side slap with the right side of the car, right into the Armco, where we saw Kevin Foster and Jesse Gordon crash out of this race earlier on as well. There's a reason why they moved those Armcos and those walls way back and all to the angle and shortly after these years.
Yeah, just allows a ricochet effect way up the racetrack. And right now, the drivers are probably wishing they're at the new Pocono in terms of the wall contacts here. See this right here, huge contact for Osborne, and then with the stack up, Carrasco gets involved.
Jump back and look at this one from the air. See John Osborne fight with Jaden Hopp, and that was just two lines coming together, one coming up, one coming down. Osborne up into the wall, and then nowhere for Marasco to go, as Scott Shire was trying to go evasive and avoid the melee. On board to the Shire.
See just how tight it was, and Hop jumped to the right. Yeah, just squeezed down actually into Hop. That's what really sparked a little bit of the contact with the door of the 00. The Shire just hit hard at the Armco.
It slammed right into that Armco wall, and these old Armco barriers, I'm going to be honest, I mean, we kind of talk about track history for a little bit as we see Osborne and Kilroy come down to the pit road. I'm amazed that those Armcos lasted as long as they did before they were repurposed. I mean, you know, I mentioned Steve Parks' flip earlier with Dale Earnhardt Jr. in 2002. I know the year after, I think it was Jeff Green went hard into the inside wall. Then you had I think 2011, it was an ARCA race here where you actually had several cars vault into the air off of some wet grass, one of them going over the Armco barrier. I know Davey Allison in 92 went barrel rolling over the Armco barriers in the infield. Then, of course, I think most infamously, the crash that we still don't fully know how it happened, Elliott Sadler's vicious hit into the inside wall further down that straight. And I think that was around the time when that wall finally got reprofiled going into the 2010s. But it is amazing to me with the amount of monumental accidents that we've had down the Long Pond Straight, how that wall lasted as long as it did. And Pocono, the older scan of Pocono, showing why.
Yeah, it's pretty vicious tonight. But for now, for those who have a chance for the lead, it's now the matter of just survive. It's becoming quite chaotic. We've now gotten almost half the field involved in some sort of incidents here today, and you don't want to be ending up joining that list with the way things are shaping up. You're talking about Marasco having 2 to 3 times now significant damage repairs to fix the one, for example. You don't want to end up costing yourself by getting into any incidents right now.
Well, the field is going to get set to go before too much longer here, as we now have Michael Orr Jr. going to lead the way. Benjamin Lacey with a black flag still looming over his head, unfortunately, as a result of his incidents. And I think it's safe to say that car is done for the day, but Carter Phillips with an end-of-line penalty on this one.
Yeah, he's been having issues with penalties. I know he was asking for things to get waived for the 30 machine. Was down pit road for almost 2 minutes. That time through for damage repairs. Finally has a front clip, though. At least it's got it fully sealed up, at least.
And that front clip, of course, falling off as a result of I think that was the multi-car crash at turn 1 that we saw earlier on. And I think that's something that kind of is interesting to point out as well, right? We're used to, in these cautionable races, a lot of the crashes being multi-car, but outside of that turn 1 wreck, we really haven't had any crash that's been a true multi-car accident. I mean, maybe 2 here or there, but mostly it's just been single car spins off of the nose of somebody else.
Yeah, and today, with this track, you have to be so careful in terms of the approach because we know what the aggression is going to build up for here. If you want to try to win this race, you're going to have to do it the clean way. If you risk contact, you risk collecting yourself and others and setting yourself into those barriers.
Pace car into pit road. Here comes Michael Thorpe Jr. leading the way. Back to the green flag. Half decent getaway. Not a good run from Nickerson. Wesley Triplett quickly shuts down the run, and the 2 going to try to challenge back into turn 1.
Keep an eye on Triplett on how he approaches this time to get a chance to get the cut alongside Thorpe. If anything, having to play more defense than offense is going to help out the 34.
Look at all these guys fanning out down the front straightaway behind as they were looking for 3 wide deeper in the field. Fight still on for the number 2 spot. Nickerson and Triplett retain the fight for the number 2 spot. Jaden Hobb gets loose and around. Paul Satmary spins into the inside wall. No caution yet. Looks like we're going to stay green, but Satmary for about the 3rd time today has gone around.
Oh, and now Hop nearly going around for good measure. Lost the back end, trying to push off the corner. But some of these drivers really pushing the edge of the aggression right now. Triplett actually getting a bump draft. You normally don't see that with this package.
Certainly do not. Got to be careful with that one. And this was Paul Satmary. Just got loose, lost it all by himself, spun down, and just a passenger as he jumped across those dual roads and into the inside wall.
Hard bit of contact, and now in turn sees the rest of the field zip their way through. Still 18 on track. More scrapes to the wall.
Did you see Nickerson kick that right rear out and nearly nick the fence there in turn 2? Thorpe continues to lead the way, but the aggression is certainly picking up. Oh, more contact behind, and James Yerger's been fenced.
Kind of been the story of Yerger's race with him on the roll. The strategy, they did the same thing. Now all the way back in the order to the 39. Just not even get any breaks here, and not too much space for the squeezes.
You know, it was one comment made in the last few weeks about how quiet it's been for the post-race review committee for all of the incidents in the races. Most of them have, there's either not a lot of them or they're pretty open and shut. I get a feeling like it's going to be a much busier night here after this one.
I mean, welcome to Pocono where things go wild. Tonight it's definitely been a wild night for the race control crew to have to deal with things. But as we get squared away, see if Kilroy's able to recover some spots from that bad pit stop. Just seems to like he's boxed in. That's why he tried the different strategy before. It's not working out this time. He can pick up a spot here from Hagee if he can't pass by Gibson if this opens up.
Hagee down to the inside of Connor Gibson. Dalton Kilroy trying to fight through the middle. Can he make it 3 wide? No, but he will get around Gibson to make it 2 for 2, and Marasco might even make it 3 for 3 here. Connor Gibson started to drop back, and Gibson, one of the drivers that we saw, having a pretty good run earlier in the race, and to his credit, still up 8 positions and clinging on to the edge of the top 10. Oh, now he's made contact with Kilroy. Puts it on the track. What a save of Kilroy as they go 3 wide to 3.
Having to balance out the car there once again. Kilroe getting into a nervous moment because he tried to get in the stick on the outside with the opening for the pass, but Marasco hit the curbing, washed him up, still trying to get the pass done.
Dalton Kilroe to the inside of Ty Marasco now into turn number 1. And he'll get around his MFRD teammate through turn 1 that time by. Take a jump back. This is what happened just seconds ago. And watch this unbelievable save as Marasco gets into Kilroe, slides him out, and what a recovery to keep that 41 pointed in the right direction.
Great job, great save. All you can say to that. But we're coming up to those closing marks here, and you better find a way to go if you want a chance for a decent finish. Yerger, he's one of the drivers that's kind of trying to find a way to get ahead of Jonathan Canfield, who's holding him up big time.
Jonathan Canfield maintains the run through 3. James Yerger up to the outside line. Bob Berry going to tuck back in line with him. Nick Nickerson, Jaden Hoff still fight it out side by side for 3rd. Hoff to the inside of the number 2. Can he get him clear? Just barely. And now Nickerson will have to try and fight this one back down Long Pond.
Yeah, they are losing a lot of ground to the top 2, though, with all this. Just not working out whatsoever for them in terms of the pole. The average speed, a tenth or 2 off of what they need to do. And you're seeing right now Hop, again, struggling corner exit to avoid hitting this wall.
Jaden Hopp is struggling, and Ty Marasco is struggling as well as he is coming under fire from Connor Gibson now further down in the field. Dalton Kilroe has pulled clear at the front of this fight with the number 1, and Connor Gibson has to go evasive as Marasco had to scramble to avoid the outside wall. So they remain side by side down the front straightaway. All the while, Michael Thorpe Jr. has not been able to break away from Wesley Triplett.
Yeah, Michael Thorpe Jr., I think, is just having the pull of the draft, helping keep Triplett into the conversation here. But the clean air is going to be very helpful, first of all, for the 34. Second, it's going to really help him is that ability to block, try and hold up the runs in the middle of the corner for Triplett. Wesley Triplett needs to set something up here perfectly to have an opportunity. You can see him just trying to go a little bit deeper and make it stick.
Trying to get a run going around the outside line, and a big step out there for Thorpe as they come down the front straightaway, and that lets Triplett get it in, and now side by side down the front straightaway into turn number 1. Triplett's gonna have to go around the long way with this one. Thorpe down on the inside. Can the 74 hold this one around the outside? Thorpe tracking up from the inside lane. Is he going to get into 74? Contact between the 2! And Triplett's into the wall! Thorpe down to the apron. They're able to save it!
Big save by Triplett. That was all with the wash-up, I think, from Thorpe Jr. Trying to keep it to the bottom. Just washed up a touch to the corner panel. Triplett's not going to appreciate that contact, but there's 11 laps to get him back.
On board with Triplett, he still has a chance here, and he is, I think Thorpe's just kind of showing his hand, right? He's not afraid to get the elbows out if he needs to go for what would be one of his first wins in almost a full year of racing here in the High Tide Racing League. Thorpe retains the top spot for the time being, and not a lot of time left. We are quickly running out of it. And again, a huge lunge to the inside for the 74.
Gonna have to try it again, try and find a way to get alongside cleanly, but better yet, know that the 34 is not afraid to make a bit of contact here. Take that into consideration on how he goes on this pass attempt. It's gonna take him a couple laps to reset it.
All of that drama has allowed for Jaden Hopp to reel in the gap now. So now it's a 3-way fight for gold in the podium here, as it is going to be 10 laps to go at the line. Michael Thorpe Jr. leads the way out, and Wesley Triplett still trying to fight this one through, but no dice so far. 10 to go.
Still have to work this out properly. If you want to try and get this done, look at the way Triplett's trying to send it. This time trying to get down the low side, just couldn't get the fender.
Still fighting with that car, trying to find some open to the inside, but Thorpe is playing an excellent defensive game right now and is really keeping Triplet from being able to get a realistic in on his defensive plans. A little bit of side-by-side to the back with Corcel and Bob Berry exchanging positions down into the tunnel turn. You've also got Jonathan Canfield under 5 for Connor Gibson around the outside of 2.
Yeah, look at that. A little bit of swerve, though. Yerger trying to step out of line. Yet again, your contact with that 16 that's been a thorn in his side all race long. We'll say this, though. 3 wide. Going to set up an opportunity for Yerger because someone's going to have to back out here.
Well, someone has to, but the question is, will they? In theory, it would be Jonathan Canfield, the driver that's caught in the middle, but no, none of them lifting out. Connor Gibson, though, loses out the most, or does he? Because he's able to get a good over-under here, sets up the run, and Jonathan Canfield all of a sudden is on defense now as Gibson back to the inside.
Yeah, all sorts of hardy battling again. Nicely done by Yerger to squeak on by in that situation. But the big thing from here on out is going to be how things fare at the front of the field. Guess who's joined the conversation up at the top 3, coming to 8 laps to go. Jaden Hopp is right at the front.
Hopp with a front row seat to the grudge match that has been raging for the last 12 laps now. Michael Thorpe Jr. started to build a bit of a gap. We saw this earlier, right, when Wesley Triplett went on a longer green flag run. He had a lot of pace earlier on, but then he started to lose it midway through. Has he hit the fall-off point in his stint?
Yeah, that's the biggest question, I think, to me. I'm not quite sure. I think for the most part, though, you're talking about, with all the scrapping we've seen a little bit with the contact, opening up the door for some of these errors to get back latched into the pole. I think for Thorpe Jr., the clean air is just that much more beneficial, even though there's the pole, the 74 and the 00.
7 laps. Just shy of 7 minutes of racing left. 7 opportunities for Wesley Triplett to reel the gap back in. We'll check in with this fight again if it closes in much more than this. Time Marasco able to clear Eddie Hagge down to the turn 1. Eddie Hagge trying to follow through, though, with another counterattack. Diving to the inside of the fight for 8th.
Yeah, right now this is a little bit choosy in terms of the opportunities here. I think for Marasco, the recovery's definitely been on here today in terms of what they've done. But for everybody else here, I think quite simply, it's can you get an opportunity to peel one by? Can you get an opportunity to get a points finish here? Hankey's been fighting all day long just to get himself higher to the 9th or 10th, and there's contact again!
Big slide from Marasco, able to catch it, and good job with Eddie Hagge. Backed out and allowed Marasco room to save the car. That costed some spot, though, to James Yerger. All the while, Triplett with a massive send on Thorpe in a turn 1, but he wasn't able to pull alongside.
Yeah, just got a little bit darty yet again in terms of that contact. But for everybody else here, now it's the situation. Can you prepare yourself for when there's a potential mistake? Triplett seems to be running decent. He's 2/10 quicker right now than Thorpe Jr. The problem is, the closer he gets, the harder it will be to pass.
Michael Thorpe Jr. continues to retain the top spot, but it seems like turn 4 might be where Thorpe is weakest right now, because that's where Triplett tends to gain the most. He's gained a full 1/10 of a second just down the front straightaway alone. Triplett has got turn 3 figured out, and Thorpe's got to find an answer for him there, or he might be at risk of losing this run.
Yeah, right now, you take a look at some of this going on here. Marasco's been having a lot of ups and downs as of late, hasn't he? But Larry Bell quietly has been running up in the top 9, just sees a major slow up that puts him down there.
Is he clutching? Is he not safe on fuel?
My thought is he would be, you would think. We only have 4 laps to go coming up here. And remember, we seen earlier Kilroy go 28-29 with the cautions.
Well, if Larry Bell's not safe on fuel, that means these leaders might not be safe either because they're all under the same fuel strategy.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one to close things out today. I don't know how to say it. I think right now for the fuel strategy, I think that's not something that are concerned. It's, can you get a run? Because right now, it seems Triplet is hitting a brick wall in terms of aggression.
And Triplet try as he may has been unable to find an answer to get around Michael Thorpe Jr. Now, we saw Wesley Triplet all but dominate the race at the Kansas Speedway last week. Now we get to see what he's like on offense here. Is he a driver that's going to race Thorpe clean, or is he not afraid to use the chrome horn? We got live traffic on the road. Scott Shire could play a factor in this fight.
Yeah, this could get a little bit intriguing here on the approach once again. Can Triplet get the poke is the huge question, I think, right now. The problem is Thorpe is just running the outside just perfectly. A narrow scrape to the wall, though. It's going to cost that.
Under 0.2 of a second. It'll be 2 laps to go at the line, and still Wesley Triplet has maintained the run. And you keep in mind, still have Jaden Hopp back in third here as well. Do you think Jaden Hopp is still pushing as hard as he can, or is he potentially biding his time and watching how this lead fight develops?
I think right now for Jaden Hopp, he's just taking the points. Sees if there's an opportunity for things to boil up for a pass, but he doesn't have to force it. Better yet, I don't think he can force it to get past both these cars. It's one or the other. You can't get both right now.
2 laps to go. You saw Triplet with a big slide out of turn 3. But a bit of a push from Hopp allows Triplet to remain within striking distance of Michael Thorpe Jr. Lap and a half to go. It's the white flag coming up this time by. And there you saw Hopp made the look, and Triplet went defensive, and that's going to cost him valuable time.
Yeah, there's a lot of chatter on the radio as well, but for now, Triplet's in the wall. That just cost him a chance here. Here comes Hopp.
Jaden Hopp to the inside, and that could very well do it. Michael Thorpe Jr. powering through out of turn numbers 3 and 4, taking the white flag this time by off 3.
Yeah, right now for the 34 has the chance to get the W, just has to keep it clean, keep it out of the wall. Triplet and Hopp more focused on their battle at this point with how big the distance is. Look at Triplet though, trying to streak hard to the outside.
It has been 29 races since Michael Thorpe Jr. has been able to take victory here in the High Tide Racing League. Jaden Hopp is going to look to the inside of Wesley Triplet, and he is going to play spoiler. Thorpe coming around through turn numbers 2, this time through. Turn 3 is waiting. It's all a fight for second. Thorpe's just got to navigate one more corner. He has no competition. Jaden Hopp into turn number 3, looking for the inside. Triplet finding the outside, but off of 4. Michael Thorpe Jr., first time since April 2024, is to victory lane in the High Tide Racing League.
Nicely done with the performance today. He's been close a few times today on speed and throughout the season, but in the end, it just took being able to hold on, especially with those scoring moves with some of the cautions. It gets the chance to hold on for the race.
For Michael Thorpe Jr., he was last closest to a race win, and we're talking, this was a good while ago at this point. The last time he came this close was Darlington of May 4th of 2025. That was his last podium as well, so his first podium in a good 8 months. His first win since April 13th of last year. This is a huge day, and he is going to break a 29-race losing streak.
Yeah, an impressive day for Thorpe. and feel it's a matter of when, not if, with the way things have gone this season. Good race overall. Now he gets a chance to celebrate.
Michael Thorpe Jr. for Golden Garden Auto Sport. The driver out of Chicago, Illinois, will be able to come home here this afternoon and take a hard-earned win here this afternoon, as he is going to burn it down to the front straightaway. Noses it into the inside wall, but hey, that's fine. You've won the race. You may as well have some fun with it.
Yep, if that's the only damage you pick up all day, it's a good day. Don't need to take that car anywhere except to virtual victory lane. May as well demolish it for 10.
Look at that form on that. The two very pristine tire treads. That's a 10 out of 10 for symmetry on that one.
You're perfect.
A lot of drivers would kill for that kind of burnout. You can tell he's a happy camper, as he is going to run that thing dry until that engine expires. So while he's busy celebrating, let's take a rundown of your official race results here at the end of the night. It's going to be Michael Thorpe Jr. for the first time since April 13th of 2025 taking the win here this afternoon. Wesley Triplett comes home number 2 with Jaden Hopp rounding out the podium after a hard-fought fight at the end. Nick Christen comes home 4th, Keith Lee back in 5th, and then it's Kilroy, Marasco, Yerger, Canfield, and Coruscant for the top 10.
11th spot today goes to Larry Bell with hanging in 12th. Barry Gibson and Phillips in the top 15. Also on the lead lap, Sikorsky. Lap down with Shire and Osborne from crashes. Salisbury finishes on the DNF list with Benjamin Lacey.
And then, of course, closing out the field here, all drivers that failed to finish this race. Sean Williams, Brian Dees, Kevin Foster, and Jesse Gordon were all knocked out of this race at the opening half, with 3 of the drivers not even making it to lap 10 here this afternoon. Well, let's give a chat in here with the drivers that finished numbers 1, 2, and 3 here at the end of the night. And we'll look to kick things off first and foremost with Michael Thorpe Jr., the driver that comes home number 1 at the end of the afternoon, and we'll try to find the driver, the number 34. There he is. Let's bring your race winner here into the broadcast booth, and what a run for Michael Thorpe Jr. And Michael, a long time since we've been able to talk to you on the podium. For the first time since May, you've been on the podium, and first time since last year in April to victory lane. This win, though, did not come easy. Talk us through it.
Oh my God, man! I cannot believe it. I've no podiums, none this season. I just was losing faith in myself and about mastering this car, and finally got it. I can't believe it.
An absolutely wild ride you had here this afternoon. It was looking a little bit dire at one point where you were dropping outside of the top 5, but it came back your way at the end there with some lucky timing of cautions. Talk us through the fight, though, with Jaden Hopp and Wesley Triplett in the closing stages, because that was a nail-biter.
Oh yeah, those two were one of the best in this league, 100%. I just knew I had to give my A game this race, and I got a good rep here at Pocono, so this was one of my good tracks. I just had to play it safe, keep my head cool, and try not to worry about them once I got out front. It just mainly do what I do and play defensive as much as I can, and just do what I know what to do.
Kind of talking about your history throughout the course of this championship. You've been in the Final Four a couple of different times now at this point in the High Tide Racing League. A few different times you have the chance to go for a championship, but this is the first season where it doesn't all just come down to one final race at season's end, as the new chase format that this league is taking on for this season going to shake things up. Do you still maintain that confidence if you make the top 12 here for the chase that you're going to be able to contend for a championship by the season finale?
Oh yeah, I'm 100% sure I'm gonna do that, and as long as I keep my head on a swivel and keep my head on straight, and finish top 5s, top 10s, and try to keep going for wins, if I can get myself there, and I think I'll be all right.
Michael, we'll wish you the best of luck when we go racing next week out. Congratulations on taking home a stellar race win this afternoon, and we'll see you in Dover.
Thanks, guys.
Michael Thorpe Jr. coming home #1 here this afternoon. And Justin, you're standing by with the driver that came home second today. He won the last race, didn't have it this week, but he's runner-up. It's Wesley Triplet.
Yes,
What's up,
indeed.
y'all?
Well, let me ask you this. How are you feeling about second place? You were close this week. Couple opportunities for the race win there.
Well, we all was racing hard as hell. I guess Michael Thorpe, he wasn't happy with me getting him loose out of turn 3 there, so he he kind of gave it back to me coming out of 1. But that's all right. We was racing hard. It was fun. I didn't expect to do worth crap at all at Pocono. I put like an hour or so practicing before we went green. So maybe that paid off, I guess.
How would you describe the trickiness to be able to hold out Pocono? Because most of the fields you draft locked, you were one of the few, at least at one point, who were able to pull away from the pack.
To me, some reason it felt like I don't think dirty air is super crazy in these cars. Like I can't feel it in my hands, but it just seemed like whoever was in the lead could really drive the fastest. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, and Michael Thorpe was super fast, but it was really hard. Like I could get kind of a cut down line and get a run on him, but it just would fade away. So I don't know. It seemed like the leader had the advantage there. I just took it. I pressed that advantage as hard as I could when I had it.
So with that being said, next time out on the schedule, we go to Dover. How do you feel about Dover Motor Speedway?
I like Dover. Not really good on the. Not really good at Dover, but wasn't. I don't think I'm very good at Pocono, but I don't know. It's surprising what a little, 60, 80 laps of just running laps can do for you in speed. So maybe I'll put in a little time before we go to Dover and see what I can come up with.
Anyone you want to give a shout out to here today?
Yeah, man. Shout out to the High Tide Racing League, man. Everybody here runs me really clean for the most part, and really fun battles. Shout out to Michael Thorpe and Nick and Jaden. Everybody ran me really good. It was super fun. Shout out to the Mars boys. I know they this might be possibly one of our last seasons. So shout out to those guys if they see this, and shout out to you dudes for putting on an awesome broadcast. I drive a truck and I like letting it play while I ride, like 5 hours at a time. I need something to play, so I play the broadcast back. So I appreciate you guys.
Congratulations on the run tonight, Wesley.
All right, thank you. Y'all have a good one.
Wesley Triplet comes away second tonight. Third spot with the way of Jaden Hopp. He's standing by with Nolan.
Jaden Hopp comes home third this afternoon, and Jaden, you were giving it everything there in the closing stages of this one and trying to get around Triplet. Came up just shy this afternoon, but yet another podium here in season number 5, and you're looking to extend your points lead exiting today. Talk us through the race.
It was definitely a fun one. I would have liked more long green flag racing. I think I would have done better in that scenario, but it was a pretty good race, all things considered. Everybody was pretty clean, except for me at the end. I'm not sure what the future holds. I'll definitely be serving a couple life sentences in the High Tide jail for killing Osborne there at the end. So apologies out to him and the rest of the people that I got involved in that. And nice to see Thorpe win after I killed him last.
Kind of talk us through that closing fight there. Were you kind of monitoring the fight to try and see how it developed, or were you trying to go for the lead right out of the get-go? Because you three were packed up on each other for about 10 laps there before the end.
Yeah, I got pretty lucky that they raced pretty hard and gave me like a free second on them. And then I would have liked to get by Wesley a little faster. Obviously, I never did in the end, but I felt like I could run like one line very well, and then like anytime somebody was in that line in front of me, I would struggle. But got close to making it work, but not.
Kind of looking forward to the whole of this one here when it comes to your record here in the High Tide Racing League. Next week up, it is, of course, going to be a run at the Dover Motor Speedway. Now, you've only had one start at Dover here in this league before, and for you, it was not a race win. And in fact, you failed to finish that race down in 25th place. Are you hoping for more here this time around? What's your confidence levels going into the Monster Mile?
I'd say I feel pretty confident. I really like Dover. It's my favorite track ever. I'd say I'm pretty good at there. Compared to how I went last time I was at Dover, I'd just like to finish at this rate, so hopefully we can go out and do.
Well, we'll wish you the best of luck when we go racing next time out. Congratulations on taking your third place finish this afternoon, and we'll see you next week in Delaware.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Jada Hop comes on number 3 here this afternoon. And Justin, that's going to bring us to the tail end of this one here this afternoon. Next week, it's a trip out to the Monster Mile. And that's a track that could be Michael Thorpe Jr.'s wheelhouse. When it comes to Gen 4 machinery, he took his first ever High Tide Racing League win there all the way back in Season 2 when he was beating and banging with Benjamin Lacey in a photo finish out of turn number 4 in what is stood as one of the wildest races that this league has ever seen in its history. But before we get to that, of course, there's the points to go over. So Thorpe able to improve quite significantly as a result of this run. He's up to 6th. Jaden Hop still extending that lead up front, but Dover should be an interesting ride. It could be a shakeup.
Especially with how things could go there with a lot of the close confines. Concrete does have a different effect in terms of how you are to the tires. So I think for some of these drivers, it's the matter of can they make sure Miles the Monster doesn't eat them up when we go to Dover.
It's going to be a big story at Dover Motor Speedway 1 week from today. But before we get to all of that, there's still plenty more action yet to be had here on Green Flag TV. When we go racing once again, it is going to be tomorrow afternoon where the OMSRL Cup Series kicks off yet another season at the Daytona International Raceway. The Beer League also with their season opener on Wednesday in Mazda Miatas. Zero Torque Racing League action back for more on Friday, where SRA will also have their season opener at Daytona alongside the Aspire Racing League and the Mid-Atlantic Racing Series next Tuesday, just after the High Tide Racing League's run at the Monster Mile. If you want to find out more about who we are and what we can offer you, check us out today at www.greenfly.tv. Once again, my name is Will Ramble alongside Justin Praise. Thank you all so much for joining us here this afternoon. What a race we had this afternoon, and still a long way to go in the regular series season. We'll see you next week at the home of Miles the Monster.